Hello, everyone, and welcome. We're glad you're able to join us today. Before we get started, I would just like to remind everyone that this webinar is being recorded and the recording will be available on our webinar archive page within 24 hours of airing. You should have access to closed captions, and we welcome your questions. Feel free to drop your questions using the Q&A feature. Remember that you can ask your questions at any time, and you have the option to remain anonymous. And your questions will be answered based on how Paige and the team feels like, but hopefully towards the end of this session. And without any further ado, I'd like to hand it over to Paige. Thank you, Paige.
Yes, thank you so much, everyone. We're so happy to have you here with us today. My name is Paige Selman-Boucher, and I'm the Community and Volunteer Manager here at AACRAO. So I'm going to share my screen here as we get started. A good chunk of my role is to really help make sure that volunteers and members at AACRAO know how to find their place to really get involved and to get engaged with AACRAO. And so that's really what we're here to talk about today. So this is the new year, new community, find your community within AACRAO. So we'll have introductions of our 4 panelists that we have here today. They are members like you, and they are involved in a wide variety of different things, and they're going to share their experiences. Before we jump in to the question portion, I will go over just a couple of resources we have to help you get involved at AACRAO. And then we'll really jump into the questions. Again, as Belma said, if you have any questions, put them in the chat or in the Q&A feature, and we'll do our best to get to them as we can. And then without further ado, I will hand this over to our panelists to go ahead and introduce themselves. Luis, if you want to start.
Sure can. Hi, everybody. This is Luis Alarcon, Director of Recruitment and Admissions at Lincoln Land Community College. Pleasure to be here.
Hello, everyone. I'm Regina Middleton, Assistant Registrar for Training and Professional Development at Texas Christian University. Glad to see everyone here today.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sarah Sullivan, currently a Senior Associate Registrar for Strategic Initiatives at the University of Iowa. I will be transitioning soon, though, to be the Associate Registrar for Compliance at Cornell University. Nice to be here. Nice to see you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Hannah Warner. I am the registrar at Pennsylvania College of Art and Design in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you all so much. And I did mention in the description, but this is an interactive webinar. So before we jump into some of the resources, I want to hear from all of you. How are you currently involved with AACRAO? You can either scan the QR code or you can go to slido.com and enter the answer there. And I will drop that link in the chat. That is helpful for anyone. And it should pop up there. Just getting started. Yeah, that's totally fine. Presenter, being a member, absolutely. Just joined last month. Welcome. We are happy to have you. New member, yeah. Absolutely. Registrar, getting assistant. It looks like we have a lot of people who are new and who are really trying to figure out how to get involved and looking forward to getting started. So we're really excited to have you here. And again, if you have any questions, please drop those in the Q&A or the chat. If you have any technical difficulties, you can put those in the chat as well. And we would be happy to help you. Attending annual meeting, yes. Oh, I love to see the credential chats. I help run those as well. So I'm very excited to see you all there. Awesome. Okay. Looks like we have a lot of different ways. And so I want to jump in and share our Get Involved page. So we do have a newly released resource, and it's very exciting. We have a whole web page dedicated to how you can get involved at AACRAO. So if you go to the AACRAO webpage, you can see that we have a wide variety of options here. Let me drop that there. So we have all kinds of different things to look at, and it is organized by time. So it's all based off of our vision, mission, and values. And then we have, higher time commitment here toward the bottom. And then it gets to be, a lower time commitment per opportunity as you move toward the top. So, maybe presenting is just that one-off experience, whereas some of these other ones might be several months or even a year. And you can click on these to see, and there's links throughout them to the pages so you can find your way. We also have a full text version if you would prefer to be able to navigate it that way rather than clicking through. So that is another option. It's all the same links there as well. So I do want to make sure that people know about that opportunity, and I encourage you to check it out. So without further ado, let me go back to my slides here. How do you want to get involved? Hopefully we're seeing some inspiration here. You're able to see some of the options that we've got. And I would like to hear from you all. Yeah. PPAG, awesome. We have someone here. Sarah's been involved with PPAG, so I'm sure she can touch on that. Mentorship, yes, the peer mentor application is open right now, so I do encourage you to apply that. It closes on Friday, so make sure to get that filled out. Mentorship, yes, meeting other people. Open to anything. Hill Day, awesome. Committee work, collaborating with others, yeah. Give everyone another minute here. Webinars and online courses, awesome. Compliance training help, anything, help, connection. Yeah, that is one of the things that we hear from people a lot is that it's, sometimes you're one of the only people on your campus doing your role. And so it's really nice to be able to meet with other people who are doing that role kind of throughout the country. Yeah, okay. So now I kind of want to take you a moment here, and you all mentioned connecting with others. So really quick, I do want to point out we have one other resource that can be really helpful if you want to meet other people who are already involved. So if you go to the exchange, and I have the QR code there, and I'll drop it in the chat here in a second as well. You can go to our involvement directory. So it's under member directory, involvement directory right here. And you can find other people who are already involved. So someone mentioned the Public Policy Advisory Group. And so you can click that and you can see other people who are already involved in that opportunity. And a lot of people are really willing to help share how they got involved, what you can do. So I encourage you to reach out and try and connect with others if you are interested in that opportunity. And without further ado, now we're going to jump over to the panelist questions. If you all have other questions, again, drop those in the Q&A and we will do our best to keep an eye on them. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so hopefully I can see all the options a little bit better. And let's see, let me pull up my notes, make sure that I have those there and start it off. So starting to our panelists, how are you currently involved at AACRAO? Talk a little bit about some of those experiences.
I'll hop in. I'm currently rolling off the Public Policy Advisory Group, so I'm not sure if you want to reach out, whoever's interested in PPAG. I love it. I am the Nominations and Elections Committee Chair-elect right now, so I'm looking forward to doing that. I am going to be presenting here next month or in April at the annual conference. And so I've written for college and university and AACRAO Connect. So a lot of different ways that I'm currently involved and looking to stay involved with.
I am involved in the Black Caucus, and also I'm on the Professional and Staff Development Committee. I also participate in the credentialing chats. My article will be coming out in the college and journal, university journal in spring. And what else am I doing? And I presented at AACRAO last year because my TACRO presentation won the best of the best, and that's how I got involved in AACRAO. So yeah.
All right, I'll go next. I'm a 24, 25 Ascent Scholar. I'll be presenting at the annual meeting in this upcoming end of March/April. Also, I got the pleasure of being elected also in the nominations and elections committee. I am also taking, many of the different online courses as part of AACRAO, like change management, strategic enrollment core concepts, managing and leading an admissions office, things of that nature. I'm also part of the Latinx Caucus.
I am currently in the peer mentorship program, the current active round. This is my first time going through that whole process. It's been great. I was paired up with a wonderful registrar or associate registrar in Texas. So we meet biweekly and we have conversations about different AACRAO podcasts that we've listened to and kind of discuss how those apply, to our work and how we can kind of support each other that way, and other topics as far as that relates. And then I'm also a member of the Exchange, which is the online, chat community forum group. So there's a lot of different subject content groups that you can join specifically for admissions or registrars or whatever you're looking for. So those are great, and that's primarily how I'm involved.
Thank you. And if you wouldn't mind sharing, why did you all decide to start getting involved? Like, what was kind of that push for you?
I can go. I think there are several reasons for me. One was certainly service. It's a privilege, it's an honor. So if you're looking for ways to contribute, to engage, to grow, to kind of like lend a helping hand to the association, to its member. This is one way of doing it. There are just multiple different ways of where your skills, your talents can be utilized. And it's kind of like a reciprocal opportunity, right? You're giving willingly and happily, but also you may be receiving. And being in a position to be able to mentor, to coach, to sponsor, and then just being able to perhaps make a difference.
For me, it actually started with signing up for AACRAO to get access to the free training through the website. There are a lot of really good resources that are included with your membership that don't cost anything, additionally. So when I started at PCAD, I initially signed up for like the free FERPA training for the additional trainings in like student privacy and records. I had worked a job as an assistant registrar at another school. It had been maybe 2 or 3 years since I worked that job between those two jobs, that job and this job. And so those resources on FERPA and records and record keeping and, higher ed policy was a really good brush up to get back into the swing of things. So I picked up without a problem. It was great.
Yeah, thank you.
I would
Go
echo
ahead, Regina.
what Hannah says. I transitioned from advising and student programming to the registrar's office 3 years ago. And then I knew we were a member of AACRAO, and I'm overtraining professional development. So I'm literally on the AACRAO website probably 2 times a day looking at resources that I could share with our team. And then I like to grow professionally as well. I had an opportunity of bringing Leroy Roker to our campus this past September because of AACRAO. Another thing, because of AACRAO, I was reading the article and saw what University of Colorado was doing in the registrar's office for student credentialing. I helped create that program last fall at TCU, and that's what I'm presenting on today. So I'm always on that website looking for professional development opportunities and webinars and things like that.
Yeah, when I started, I was new to the registrar profession. I was a public school teacher for 10 years, and then I did TRIO Upward Bound, and I jumped over and I knew nothing. And so when I asked my supervisor, I was like, what do I need to do? He said, sign up for AACRAO right now. And so I did, and I've been a part ever since.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, No, and it's interesting because each of you had like slightly different reasons, but ultimately it was kind of that connection and finding other people to help you learn. I did drop in the link because I've heard the courses mentioned now a couple times, the direct link to that page. And I also put my email in there. I know sometimes finding these resources can be really challenging. So I just want to put that personal offer out there that if you have questions, feel free to email me. I am more than happy to help you find your way through the website and find anything you're looking for in there. So it sounds like, you know, it was definitely professionally driven as well as community driven for you all, but what professional development do you feel like getting involved with AACRAO kind of has helped you with as you've grown in your career?
I'll go up. It's helped me in a lot of ways, but I would say recently, it has helped me expand into an area that we have never done before in our registrar's office, and that is to offer micro-credentialing for student workers. And now we have partnered with 8 other departments on our campus to expand that. And so it is stretched me and enlarged me in that capacity in the credentialing world. And I now have an opportunity to go to University of Colorado this summer to present at their batch summit. So it's growing me professionally, but I'm helping other people as well.
I would say most recently, being on PPAG and learning about public policy helped me seek the position that I'm going to assume next week. And in compliance. And so the professional development, the networking, preparing for the interviews, I had folks across the country helping me, sending me things from Title IV to veterans benefits, all of this information, and then also asking, like quizzing me along the way to make sure that I'd really read, which is really nice to have accountability folks as well. So I can easily say that I would not be at this stage in my career without AACRAO, but also the people of AACRAO putting into the people outside of AACRAO as well. Everybody's been so willing to help.
Can you touch base on what is PPAG? I know, like the rest of higher education, we do love our acronyms here. So if you could touch on that.
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm so used to just having it roll off the tongue. PPAG is the Public Policy Advisory Group. It's a group of about 8 to 12 folks who stay on for 3 years and work with the government relations team, Mike and Bill Gill mostly, with different issues that are coming up. I've jumped on phone calls about topics ranging from posthumous degrees to FVTGE to undocumented students and the different implications. And so we just give feedback on the things that are coming through as the boots on the ground, if you will.
Thank you. That's helpful. I know that one's a little bit interesting. And I meant to catch it earlier, but Luis, could you touch on like what the Ascend program is? Because that's another kind of unique opportunity.
Sure, Ken. And I was actually going to say something about it regarding professional development. Being in a director role for 1 year, and certainly AACRAO has been a vital part of me getting there. The program is basically a leadership training program designed to increase the number of participation or individuals from minoritized backgrounds into a key leadership role, right, across 2 years of public colleges and universities. So it's a program that is designed, you enter as a cohort, you meet with your peers, you also get assigned specific coaches, but you also have access to a much wider pool of coaches, up to over 12 different coaches. You get additional training through AACRAO courses. You get to participate in our case, into the creation, developing, and execution of a strategic enrollment plan. And so that is very vital, whether you're in the recruitment and admissions office or not. I think it's necessary to be able to contribute to your institutions in that capacity, because that's really what is going to be driving, retention, completion, and that sort of thing. So I know applications are open. If you have any questions about the program, feel free to reach out to me or catch up with me at the annual meeting.
All right. Oh, I'm seeing Badge Summit in Boulder is another great opportunity. Yes. So if you're interested in micro credentials, digital credentials, innovative credentials, yes, we are all still debating the name. You'll see AACRAO use the term innovative credentials. That's a great opportunity there. Thank you, Erin, for dropping the link to that. I also see a question here in the Q&A about international credit. They just hired an international credential evaluator and need recommendations for online training or webinars. We do have a, I'll send you the link, but there is a group of people that meet, I think it's about once a month, and they talk about like different countries and different evaluators, and it's kind of a community of practice where they all talk. So that is one free option, and then I can look for some other options. Do any of you all deal with international credential evaluation much? I don't think so.
Not yet for us, no.
Okay. Yeah, any of the things labeled Edge webinars, Belma mentioned in the chat is another helpful option there. So I did want to call attention to that. In terms of another great resource, and Hannah, you touched on this earlier, the exchange. What communities do you participate in? Kind of why did you jump in there, and how do you find that helpful?
Yeah, sure. Happy to talk about the exchange. So the exchange for me has been very helpful in, if I have curiosities about how a process works or what practices other schools are doing, whether they're large or smaller schools. So just do get a really good, healthy variety of responses from, not just registrars, but also, admissions folks or other, kinds of academic officers, essentially. The groups that I've participated in the most would be the peer mentors group, which is for folks who are in the peer mentorship program, but also the tech hub, which is where I've asked questions about things like AI use or policy, questions about new student information systems. So for those in the space who might not know what that is, that's like your enrollment system where like student transcripts are housed, where you add and drop like student classes for the schedule, things like that. So I've definitely asked questions about things like that. As we are approaching a point at the school where we are looking for a new system. So for questions like that, it's really helpful, especially if folks at your school who work there are unfamiliar with, the questions you're asking or unfamiliar how to help. It's also good to even validate, things that you think you already know, but you just want some clarity or you want someone to, confirm that you're on the right path. They're really helpful. And then the other one that I'm in that's really helpful is for us is small college registrars, because that's more specific to the kinds of work that, we relate to here at PCAD. Oh.
All communities. You'd think I'd have this down by now. It is 2025, but I have. Anyway, so this link that I just dropped in the chat is to the All Communities page in the exchange, and that is where you can see all of the options that kind of Hannah was mentioning. So there's a lot of different ones. It's also where you can join the caucuses. I don't know if Regina or Luis, if you all want to touch on either of those. I know you both mentioned earlier kind of what those are.
Well, I'm a part of the Black Caucus. I'm trying to get a part of the women, but it's like, it's only so much you can do. We just talk about things related to, it's mostly registrars and admissions personnel talk about, processing, safe spaces, how you're doing with living the climate, just a chance to breathe and motivate and encourage one another, basically, in light of all of our heavy discussions. But it's just it's a safe place.
Yeah, I would say that for the Latinx caucus, it's a community designed for individuals who identify themselves as Latino, Hispanic, Latinx, where we gather to talk about issues, challenges, ways to contribute, ways to continue to support one another, our institutions, our students, ways for us to connect outside of the caucus, maybe at the ACM conference, or maybe at the annual meeting, or maybe at the state level.
Yeah, and those can be if you want to join a caucus, they're open to all AACRAO members, and you can do so in the exchange. You just click join. That's as simple as it is, and then you're in. And then the kind of community and time together that Regina and Elise were talking about, you'll see it called the caucus gathering. You do not have to come every month. You come when you can. You don't even have to stay the whole hour. If you can make it for 10 minutes, that's fine. If you can make it for 20, also fine. Truly some of the most welcoming people you'll find. And so they'd love to have you there. Our next one will be in March, at the beginning of March. So if you're interested, that's an option. I saw a question here in the Q&A about how to present a webinar or publish a blog. I know we have a few authors. If you want to touch base on, how did you all start writing and sharing that with the AACRAO community?
So I'm an empty nester now, and I've been writing books. They're on Amazon. So I've been writing the last 2 years. But what made me start writing for AACRAO is when I presented at AACRAO last year, they reached out to me and said, "Hey, would you like to turn your presentation into an article?" And I said, "Sure." Well, I said sure before realizing that's a lot of work. It's not like my PowerPoint of a proposal. You have to go even deeper. So they approached me during the time was our downtown. So in the summer, I really added a lot of substance to my presentation, and I had to get some data and really beef it up, and then I submitted it to them, and they're gonna like edit it a little bit. So I'm excited about that. And I'm told that, and Hannah, you can help me. I mean, maybe Paige, don't you get a little stipend if you get it published, Sarah? Help me with that.
Yes, yeah, I've written on Connect to follow up from Hill Day, so there was that. That's a little bit less involved, and you don't get a stipend for that. But yeah, for college and university, I didn't do. It sounds like Regina, you did a research piece. I haven't done a research piece. I've done commentary. So you don't have to be a researcher. You can be definitely, but you don't have to be. So I've written a couple things on the FERPA team at Iowa and commencement at Iowa. And then I was fortunate enough to also do 2 interviews. And so one of those is coming out in the next publication that'll come out, I think, this month. And there's a college and university is actually doing 100 authors project as well. It's a great time to write something, to partner with someone. If you partner, you have to split the stipend so you can go out to lunch together. But it's Heather is the editor. She's wonderful in helping you ideate and supporting you through the writing process. It can be quite daunting and scary, but it's worth the discomfort to go and to see your name published on the byline, but also people read that and they reach out to you and they ask you questions or they give you ideas for the future. And so I'm not writing books. Regina, you're going to have to tell me how to do that. But the articles, literally anyone can do it. And it just takes a really poignant topic, and you don't have to be a researcher, and you don't even, like, if you can just talk to someone, you can do an interview.
That's good.
Yeah, and to touch base on the first part of the question too is, how, you want to present at a webinar. The more you get involved and the more you do and put your name out there, that's where a lot of the webinars come from. So one way we find webinars is caucuses is a great way and a pretty, I think, accessible way to start kind of getting into it. A lot of the caucuses will put on webinars throughout the year, and they're always looking for ideas. And so that's one way they come up. This kind of thing, honestly, I reached out to all 4 of our panelists today because I was like, hey, I've worked with you, or I've seen your name, or you've come across my desk for a variety of different things, and I think you'd have a great experience. And so that's kind of how you start seeing a lot of the different names and people coming through. So that's another good one. Let me jump back over. I'm losing the conversation so good, I lost my place. What impact do you see your involvement with AACRAO having on the broader like membership, higher education? How do you see that playing out? Throw this one to Sarah. I think you said you'd love to touch on that.
I'm so sorry. I was putting a link to the AACRAO Connect. Can you repeat the question? I'm being terribly unprofessional and multitasking.
No, you're good. You're good. I lost my place too because I kept dropping links. So yeah, Sarah did put the link in the chat to Connect articles, and that is a much shorter article, like 500 words kind of thing. And then the journals are going to be longer, more robust pieces. So can you talk a little bit about, how do you see your impact of getting involved at AACRAO, like on the broader, membership or higher ed? I know we've all touched on that a little bit.
Yeah, I think being a part, I was actually on a call earlier with some fellow Hill Day advocates. We are doing a presentation at the annual meeting, and we were talking about how much of the FVTGE deadline stuff came from the things that we were talking about. And it was, I don't want to say it was easy to see, but hindsight, looking back, the advocacy that we did for Hill Day, you can see that it makes a difference on higher education. As far as the membership, I think just saying yes and being willing to do some of these things, folks reach out almost all the time. Or even in my job interview, they were like, I saw you present at AACRAO. And I was like, oh, I hope it was something good because I don't know what it was. So I think that just being out and being available, and when people reach out to you, you really recognize that when you touch one person who touches 3 more people, who touches 4 more people, like all of a sudden people know of your name, but they don't even know you. And I have to say that with nominations and elections too, that when we vote and we are on the slate, whether we get slated or not, our stories are out there. And that makes a difference to somebody who's reading it. So just every time you turn around, it's just, it's kind of looking back over the last 10 years being an AACRAO member, there's so many different ways that you don't even realize it's happening as it's happening.
And I will do my little shameless plug that all institution. So if you are an eligible member to vote, I really do encourage you to do. AACRAO is really unique in that we do a call to vote for a large grouping of our members, and so that tends to come out in like August, September, October-ish range. That's when you'll kind of see things for nominations and elections committee and the board. And even if you don't know who the people are, they write bios so you can read them, and you can participate that way. I don't know if Luis, you want to touch on kind of what is the nominations and elections committee, and thank you for dropping in the chat several of these links that people are mentioning, because I know we've rambled through a lot.
Sure can. Well, I've got the pleasure again of being elected last year into the Nominations and Elections Committee, so I'll be assuming over my roles at the annual meeting. But what it is a national committee elected by the membership, and we are primarily tasked with the nomination process, meaning we reach out to the membership, to the caucuses, to the state leaderships. We're like, hey, we're looking for individuals that want to contribute, that want to engage, that want to continue to move forward the association, and the things that matter to us. So we start reaching out to see if you know someone, or maybe yourself, you're interested in serving, if you're interested in acquiring additional leadership skills. So we convene, we evaluate the nominations, and honestly, sometimes that's how you end up in a role like this. I was nominated, and the reason why I chose to accept the nomination was also part of that, because I also saw that there was a need to have a representation of other minoritized individuals at the leadership level.
Thank you. Yeah.
And
And
about voting as well, just real fast. I know that when we vote, we don't always know the folks who are up, but we don't know in our government who these folks are on a personal level either most of the time. Some of us might. I certainly don't, and I still go and vote. So it's really important to have your voice heard in the form of voting. And it's even more important as we keep moving forward in higher education. You asked earlier, Paige, about the impact. This has an impact. Your vote has a direct impact on the association.
Mhm. And I did see a question here in the chat about mentoring. So AACRAO uses the peer mentor model. So Hannah, I don't know if you want to touch base a little bit on kind of more your experience with that and what that looks like, and whether, you have to be a particularly experienced person, or how do you find who you're with? What does that look like?
Yeah, sure. So, like I mentioned earlier, the peer mentorship round that I'm in now, which is, I think it's 6 months. You fill out an application, you apply. They ask you questions about like things that you're confident that you could, help someone else out with and mentor them through, whether it's technology or leadership skills or whatever. And then they ask you things that you're not so comfortable with that you might want to learn more about. Leadership, technology, whatever. And then they pair you up with somebody who, is kind of like the opposite, about as close as you can get, to what you need and things that they need to learn that you can offer them. So I'm paired up with a gal in Texas. We meet online for about an hour once a month, just because we both are, the schedules are kind of hard to match up more frequently than that, but it ends up being enough for the two of us. So there is an AACRAO podcast. I myself listen to it on Spotify. I think she might listen to it through, Apple or whatever the Apple app store is or whatnot. I'm not an Apple user, sorry, Android all the way. But Spotify has the AACRAO podcast. And so they have a lot of episodes on there, and each episode is a different topic and how it relates to higher ed or registrars or, so on. So we listen to a couple of episodes, and then we, bring our notes back to our peer mentorship meeting when I meet with Rachel, so that we can discuss things we learned, stuff we thought was interesting, things like that. The peer mentorship program also has I think it's once a month, lunch and learns, where you do a digital lunch and learn. So we all kind of meet, everybody does, with AACRAO folks, Paige included, where they, have a certain discussion, things they want to, talk about, roundtable kind of stuff, so that everybody is, actively engaged in those meetings. So it's been a really good experience for me. I did already apply for the next round. So it's been very helpful if you're looking to get involved and talk with other people, and to learn as much as you can from another person. This would definitely be a great introduction into the your AACRAO membership.
And I will say one thing with the peer mentoring. So Hannah mentioned there that it's a 6-month window. You can basically choose to extend with the same person, or you can say, hey, I want someone new. Maybe you're going to keep working with them on the side, or maybe they don't have to, whatever it might be. But we kind of just have it broken up like that to help it seem a little less daunting. And then, we do the matching on the back end. We have a peer mentor coordinator, and he helps. And he reads through all the applications and goes through and does his best to do the matching. It's not a super high tech option, but it does mean that you don't have to be the one doing the cold intro. You are paired, and we do our best to kind of make that work out. And then, yes, Luis also dropped another program that we have, the SEM EP program, so our SEM endorsement program. If you're looking for more training and stuff specifically around strategic enrollment management, that's another one that is an option there. And looking at my list here, so we've rattled off a lot of different things about different ways you all are involved and why you started getting involved, but how did you kind of take that first step? Oh, and sorry, before we jump on, Cantina did mention the peer mentor model was a request from the membership to have kind of that shoulder to shoulder mentality, to really, it's a little bit different from that coach mentality or the mentor mentee. It's a lot more of a parallel. You can learn from everyone. But yeah, so talking a little bit about, how did you start breaking in? How did you start getting involved?
I would say for me, it all started, the moment I entered higher education. In our field, you need to stay up to date. You need to be relevant. You need to acquire the necessary knowledge and skill set in order to be able to serve your students, your institutions. So I saw that AACRAO was necessarily a need in order for me to do. Back in the day, they used to have something known as AACRA on the road. So you could register for like different seminars at different institutions and go and get some learning there. And after that, it was all about really reaching out. Hey, I'm interested in learning a little bit more about this. And then you will be connected to other people, other individuals, committees, or other professionals.
I would probably say being a part of our TACRO also helped me connect more to AACRAO. And then my registrar, my boss, Dr. Nicole Fisher, is really, really involved in AACRAO, SACRO, TACRO, PACRO, all AACRAOs. And she really informs us and pushes us for professional development. And so she exposed me to AACRAO. And now I was able to really, really get into AACRAO in terms of something we didn't talk about, the core proficiencies. I took those core proficiencies and helped develop a career development plan for our staff so they could use their professional development and align it with our core competencies on AACRAO. I also did another presentation, another research project with AACRAO. It was a diversity project, and I talked about how AACRAO has all of its caucuses and how that aligns with some of the diversity initiatives as well. So it's been it's been awesome for me. I will say that I'm on the website like literally every day.
Go ahead, Hannah.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I was just going to say, so I talked about it a tiny bit earlier. For me, I started, when I started at PCAT, I didn't start in the registrar position. For about 1 month, I started as a consultant. They were getting ready for their Middle States accreditation visit, which would have been a year after that when I started. So I worked as a consultant to help with like file auditing, like for like their records. And I did that job for about a month before I got the call to ask if I would be willing to step up as registrar. So that was kind of like a whiplash really quickly. So by the time I got through, I was doing the courses. I did the FERPA Foundations course on the AACRAO website. Like I said, it had been a little bit since I'd been in a registrar's office. So it was really good to brush up on that. The course was very helpful. The other course that I had started that I completed was the Compliance Corner, which covers a lot of other really good FERPA, the Solomon Amendment, Clery Act basics, things that you should know about that. Constitution Day requirements for schools that receive, relevant funding to the government. So that was really helpful things to know. Even if you don't report on everything that it discusses, at least you have like a general foundational knowledge of, things that, generally pertain to the kinds of jobs we do.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I just said yes. Whatever. When people were like, hey, you'd be great at this, I'm like, yes, I would love to do that. I don't know if I will be great, but I would like to do it. And thank you for thinking of me. And I know that I was maybe not very self-aware when I said yes to all of those things. So I would caution to just having an open yes. That may be not the right approach, but it is what I did. And it did open a lot of doors. And I saw a question in there about committee work. And so I wanted to say that that is a large part of what I said yes to. I was the chair of the graduation, and it was something before it was just the graduation committee. And then the graduation committee and all sorts of different PACs. That's often a way that folks get involved and influences the annual meeting as well. So I have done that, and I would highly recommend that as a really great first way to get involved, to start learning about the organization and start building your network.
Yeah. And you heard Sarah say the term PACs. That is our professional activities committees. And so those are, we have, I don't know, 20, 25 of them or so. So, and they're in different areas. And so that is another option for a lot of people on how they like to get involved. There's a really short application that you have to fill out, but it is nothing, I don't think it's particularly arduous. And no worries on the acronyms. We'll catch them. How do you all stay up to date on all the options that exist?
Well, I would just say for me, because I'm overtraining professional development, I'm literally researching every day. I'm looking at the Chronicle Higher Education, looking at AACRAO, trying to find out what webinars out there. Always lifelong learning is what I was taught back in my day in college. Not telling my age, but so that has always been in my mind. Always trying to figure out what is coming down the pipe in higher, especially with the Chronicle Higher Education. They really give you a lot of free virtual webinars and things that's going on in education as a whole. And then you have AACRAO that narrows down with registrars and admissions as well. And then I have an advising background, so I'm always researching article. Even there's some great articles on Washington Post. I tell you, I'm all over. Inside Higher Ed, Harvard Review. I mean, I'm just always looking every day, research, and I love research.
I would say there are several ways. Participate in the exchange communities. There is a lot of knowledge in there, so take advantage because those opportunities are free. The other one would be to attend the SEM conference or the annual meeting. It's not just about knowledge and tools and resources, but also networking opportunities. And when the Hill applications are out, also feel free to apply. That way you can get the chance possibly of going to Washington, D.C. and start advocating for, for different policy changes affecting our institutions and our students.
Could you explain, we've brought it up a couple times, what is Hill Day? Someone want to take that one?
I can jump in. Hill Day, I love Hill Day. I have done it. Sorry, I drank the Kool-Aid on all these things. Can you tell? Hill Day is an opportunity to go and speak to lawmakers and offices in Washington, D.C. about issues facing higher education. So this last year, we talked about FVTGE. We talked financial value, transparency, and gainful employment. Sorry, I caught that acronym. And Pell and double Pell and the the Higher Education Reauthorization Act. There were so many. I was just putting all of them down. And you receive training on how to talk about these issues, what AACRAO's stance is, and you're going as a representative of AACRAO, not of your institution or your state. You're representing AACRAO and talking about why these issues are important and how they're impacting our students and institutions and higher education as a whole. There's an application process, and Hill Day, it used to be in conjunction with leadership, the leadership meeting in the summer. It's been split apart from that now, and it should be sometime in July. So the applications will be open just a little bit before that. But if you'd like to learn more, this is a shameless plug. If you'd like to learn more about being an Hill Day advocate, we do have a session coming up on April 1st in Seattle. If you are going, we'd love to see you there.
Thank you. And Lisa, you touched on, the exchange is a great, free resource. Can you talk a little bit more? I know a lot of institutions, a lot of people are struggling. Funding is definitely a challenge. So how do you do you have any recommendations for tackling that?
Sure. So if you don't ask, the answer is always going to be no, right? So when it comes to, we know that, our institutions may have limited means, limited funding, that sort of thing. Literally, you go to the AACRAO website, there is a template that you can modify, for example, to basically ask for financial assistance if you're trying to make it to the SEM conference for a webinar or for training or for the annual meeting. And it's a great tool that you can utilize to basically pitch to your leadership about, hey, this is an investment that you will be making for me, but it's also this is how this is going to be beneficial for you as the institution as well as for students. Reach out to people who may be in leadership positions, for example, and sometimes they may be aware of different scholarship opportunities. For example, for the ASCEND program, there is a flat fee. And so, but you don't have to pay that fee up front. So you can break it down into installments, which much are easier to pay versus having to pay, I think it's over $1,000. So it's not even an expensive program. So really it's all about asking the right questions or asking any sort of questions, and then you'll be redirected to who may be able to assist you. But just be creative and persistent.
Yeah, and I will add that one of the things I do, so I'm not going to AACRAO this year, but what I do is I go on the website and pull up the AACRAO conference and I look at the presentations, and then I reach out to people and ask them to do they'll do a Zoom workshop. So Kenneth Drake from New York last year, he went to AACRAO and I couldn't get to his workshop. So he did it for our team virtually, and that was free. I gave him some, recognition on LinkedIn. So there's some creative ways you can do things without having to pay.
I did also just drop a link in the chat. We do have a few scholarships available for specific programs or things that come out each year. So that's another way to take a look at it. So that's enough.
The podcasts are also free and have a lot of different topics, a lot of different things. There's Transfer and Tea, there's Heard, there's For the Record, so all sorts of different podcasts as well.
Yeah. And they each podcast has like a different focus area. So there's one on admissions, there's one on the intersection of DEI and higher ed, there's one on transfer, and then there's one more on, registrar type focus topics. So there's something for everyone, hopefully. All right. And I did promise at least a little bit of time here at the end. We've been having such a great conversation. Does anyone have any questions for the panelists? I've been trying to grab them as they come in, but this is also a designated time if you all have questions. Or if the panelists have any final closing thoughts that you all want to share, words of wisdom, tidbits. Does AACRAO have an active book club? We do not currently have a specific book club running, but that's not currently running at the moment. I want to do a webinar. What is the process? We typically, webinars tend to come from kind of existing groups at AACRAO. Belma, I don't know if you want to, if I'm missing something there, but so like I mentioned, like the caucuses is one way that we see webinars come through. We do have some corporate sponsored webinars that we do post those as well. And then there's things like this, that staff kind of put together. We have government relations updates. So my advice, if you want to get involved with webinars or become a presenter at a webinar, is to kind of plug in some of the other spaces as well, and that's kind of where we tend to source a lot of that content.
The exchange community is a great place to start because you can ask your colleagues about either joining a caucus, and then you can get a book club going. Or also, there's also individuals in there looking for other individuals who want to co-present at a conference or at the SEM meeting.
Yeah, we do see, especially, during call for proposals for various things, we'll see sometimes people post in different communities, hey, I have this great idea, but I don't want to do it alone, or I want to have multiple perspectives, and they'll just put out a call, and you are welcome to do that as well. I know that could be daunting, but the exchange is really for the members. It's for you all to connect and to have virtual space to plug in with one another. Any other final thoughts, questions?
I was just going to throw out there that I know sometimes it can be cost prohibitive and you do have to pay for them, but the pre-conference workshops are great. There's all sorts of them. If you're new to the registrar profession, Registrar 101, there's FERPA 101, there's all sorts of different topics. So I would encourage you to check those out if your institution can and will help support that. And the other thing I was going to say is just asking other people, because sometimes we can't see what we would be good at or how other people value our opinions. And so it's really great to go into a group at AACRAO or into your network and ask, where do you think my strengths lie? Where can I contribute and get somebody else's feedback about who's more involved in AACRAO, who knows, or maybe can suggest a place where you can learn and grow. I actually like being a part of spaces where I don't know what I'm talking about, which is a lot of them. So that's why I say yes all the time. But like going to learn about things that maybe aren't done at my institution. I have a homegrown student information system. So I like to go to sessions and things where they're about student information systems that are different from my own. So that would be my advice, is to find where your expertise is, but also where it's not, and gravitate.
Mhm. Right. Well, I will put my email in the chat in case anyone joined later in the conversation. But again, if you all have any questions after this, I'm more than happy to help. I really enjoy helping people find their space and plugging in. I know there was a question at one point in the chat about how do I find other members. We do have a member directory, and that's a resource for all AACRAO members. And that is an option for you to, you can find people by their state, or you can find people, who work at a specific institution if you're curious. So I know it can be daunting to say, oh, reach into your network. But if you maybe don't feel like you have a network yet, that can be a little scary. So sometimes it's nice to start a little bit locally. Look and see if there's anyone maybe either at your institution or at a close by institution who you'd be willing to connect with. And I encourage all of you to go in and, as Cantina said, update your member profile, because when people go to find you and they want to see what are you involved in and what types of things have you done, if you don't update it, then they don't have anything to look for. So I encourage you to take a moment and do that as well. I really appreciate you all taking your time here to be with us today. I know it's very busy in your worlds, and so I appreciate you taking that time. And thank you so much. Belma is putting in the chat a couple more resources here at the end, and this recording will be up. So I know we covered a lot of information, but happy to help, and have a great rest of your day. Thank you all so much. We're happy to have you.